What's going on, y'all? Today I'm gonna keep it very simple on how to change your coolant reservoir tank. I'm gonna just give you the easy steps and what to do and what to know when changing this tank. So we're just gonna get straight into it. So starting off, you're gonna want to make sure that your coolant tank is cold. Make sure your whole engine is cold. It's best to do this either like in the morning if you haven't drove it all morning, or at night if you drove it like in the morning or something. You want to give it time to cool down though completely, to where the whole engine is cold, or the coolant is cold, everything's cold. So you could go without possibility of getting sprayed or causing bubbles in your engine, or like air bubbles in your coolant system. So you want to start off with taking off this hose clamp and taking off this hose clamp. All right, I would recommend getting some actual hose clamp pliers too, because they're made for these type hose clamps and they lock, so you don't have to dealing with it with pliers or vice grips or something. But once you get these hoses disconnected, you want to get this one loose and not stuck on there just like that. And then you want to get this one loose, which could be a little hard. I would say just twist it, and that usually breaks the seal on it. So you want to make sure those aren't tight on there, but don't take it off yet because we got to get this screw off first. But once you remove the screw, you should be able to pull up on it. And there's 2 clips back here. I already got them out, but the way to get these clips out is to pull up and then pull out. That's how that clip system works, is to pull up and pull out. So you want to angle this as far up as you can and then kind of just jimmy it out of there, and they'll try not to break them, but they usually eventually pop out. If you break them, it isn't that big of a deal because you are replacing your coolant tank. So it ain't that big of a deal if you do break them, but I just would recommend not breaking them so you can at least keep this tank just in case. The reason I'm changing it is because I don't know if you can see there, but I don't know if a rock made us hit it or just pressure after so long. This is a 2008. That's what most all of my videos are over, is a 2008 Audi A4. That's what this channel's for. But after so long of getting pressurized, you can see that it's cracked, and it doesn't leak bad, but after a while it just gets moisture on it right here. So that's why we're putting the new tank on. But after you get this bolt off, you get these hoses loose and you get those clips out. Then you want to start working on these hoses. You're going to start off with this one. You're going to let's try to keep that posted up. But you're going to start off with this one. You want to pull this one out, and you want to try to angle it to the side over here and just have it to where the hose is pointing up, because you don't want any fluid to leak out. We're trying to lose as least fluid as possible. Let's try to get that to focus. All right, so once you get that top coolant hose off, it might leak a little bit of fluid. That's what you can see there, just a little bit, and I did hear air pockets. So I'm going to show you guys, after I do all this, actually how to bleed the system the correct way to make sure there's no air in the system. Everybody says to just use the bleeder screw that's under this engine cover, but it's way more complicated than just that. So I'll put you guys through the whole process so you don't deal with any overheating issues. But so I just put the hose in the loop of the oil dipstick because it keeps it in an up position like that. It's just a perfect spot for it. So now we're going to work on this hose. I would say get a tank. I'm going to try to use that tank and see if I can't spill it all into that tank to preserve the coolant, because this is brand new coolant. I just put it in about a week ago because I did a turbo job on this car. I put a new turbo in this car, brand new turbo. But so we're going to try to preserve this coolant because it is brand new. So the step now is to slowly take this hose off and have, if you either your catch can or a plastic bottle or something that will be big enough to catch all of this coolant that's in this reservoir tank. So that'll be the next step, is removing this hose slowly and having something to catch the fluid. Can't think of an exact way to do this. I would just say how I'm doing it: get the coolant tank or a bottle of coolant, but that's my empty bottle of G12. That's the new G12 Evo I had to get from the dealership, but that's all in the car right now, so it's empty. I just kept the tank. So I just put the bottle down below by the motor mount, and then I put a funnel right here so that when I pull it out, it'll all just drain down into the funnel. and so you can collect all that coolant back. I could give you an extra tip also. When this hose is off, and if you raise this, pull the tank up above the regular level of the motor, it will push fluid out of this hose. So I just did it just now on accident, pushed a little bit out, and I was like, oh snap. But if you guys do that, it ain't that big of a problem. You just will have to make sure you bleed the system, which I will show you guys how to do, but try to avoid pulling that tank up so much so you lose as least coolant as possible. Because I know not everybody's able to just go to the dealership and buy that ended up being 31 bucks, but buy a $31 bottle of coolant, just a gallon. But so once you got your tank like that with your funnel like this, you can start to pull this hose off, and I would just slowly pull it to where it's a slow stream, not just yank it all off so it'll, pour out completely. So I'm going to do that step right now, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, now that we took the hose off, leaked all the coolant into that bottle, I would say just post your hose up like this, just so you don't, if it tips down, it'll leak coolant out. So, but now we're at this point where we're leaking all this coolant out, and there is going to be some coolant that gets stuck right up here on the return part. I think you can just turn the hose up a certain way and it should leak like how I'm doing now. Okay, so I'm just going to do that step and try to get all the coolant out of this tank, and then I'll go to the next step for you guys. So now that I think I've got all the coolant that I could get out of this tank, there's still a little bit right there. I'm going to try to get it out, but if I can't, no big deal. I'll just go to the dealership and get a little extra coolant to make sure that we're topped off to the maximum level, so we never have to deal with any low coolant issues. But so once you leak all your coolant out, there's going to be a hose right there on the bottom. You want to pull that little tab down. You want to push in, then pull the tab down, and it should come right out for you. So I'm going to do that step right now. All right, so once you remove that tab, you'll be able to completely pull the coolant hose out. I'm glad I'm changing this tank, because as you can see at the bottom, there's a little bit of soot or sand or something down up in there. So I'm glad I'm changing this tank. You can see the little bit of damage that was right here. I'm not sure where that came from. I'm just taking a guess on overpressurized system. After I changed the coolant, or not the coolant, after I changed the turbo on this car. So now that you got your tank out, you can go get your new tank and we can go through the steps on that. All right, so with our new tank, you want to start off with connecting your coolant hose back to the tank, or not the hose, the coolant electrical connector. You want to connect that back. Make sure you push it all the way in so that it clicks into place. And then we're able to put it back into the clips that I showed you how to remove them from. And so we'll just put that one there, we'll put that one there. And you want to just angle it up like so, and it should just click into place. I'm probably gonna put the camera down just to make sure I click those in place. You gotta make sure it's done right. So I'm gonna put this down for 2 seconds. All right, so now that it's clicked in place, you can go ahead and put your screw back in right here, and you can screw it into place. Okay, so once you got your clips into place, you got your screw in, you got your electrical connector connected, then we can jump over to this hose. We'll kind of go in backwards order that we took it apart. So we're gonna try to put this hose on without leaking any coolant now. So we're gonna put this hose here, and then after you put that hose there, you're gonna put your return hose on, which goes here. So I'm gonna do those 2 steps real quick. Okay, so once you got your 2 hoses on, then you can put your hose clamps back in place with how they originally were. Make sure you check your hoses, see if you see any cracks, any splits, if it looks overly stretched in any way, then I would recommend changing these just to prevent any issues in the long run. Since you're already under here doing it, if you see any issues, I would just recommend changing it. Hoses aren't too expensive versus overheating in an engine, which can cause, catastrophic issues. So check your hoses. If everything looks good, then you can put them all in place and put your hose connectors back on. Okay, so we got our clips back in, we got our screw, and we got our hoses reconnected. We've got an electrical connection, the temp. I think that's the temp sensor for the coolant maybe. Don't credit me on that. I'm not too sure. You can check for yourself if you really want to know about it, but that's one of the sensors for the tank right there, and make sure that's connected. Once everything is in place, then you can top this off. Okay, so we're going to unscrew this and we're going to top it off. Okay, so once you top it off, you should be good on a good level. If you didn't lose much, you should. If you were on minimum, you should still be on minimum, or if you were on max, you should still be on max. I lost a little bit, so it got me right on minimum. One thing I forgot is bleeding the line the correct way. So the way that you're supposed to bleed this line is you're supposed to undo this screw, and then you'll have to take those clips back out, which might be a pain in the butt, but it's not too bad. You don't have to disconnect any of these hoses. But I'm going to start off with taking this screw off and getting those clips out. Okay, so to remove the screw, we got the clips back out so that you're able to lift the tank up. So you can just rest it like that. So once you get that all taken apart, you want to come to by your battery next to your dash, and you want to get to this top hose right here. So we're going to remove this clip, and then I'll show you the step after that. Okay, once you got that clip removed, a little pinhole, let me try to focus, a little pinhole should be right here, and they might put a little paint on it. That's what most of the dealerships do, or the manufacturers, they'll have a little paint so you know where it is. So for this little pinhole here, you want to loosen up this hose, and you could just twist it or whatever. Try not to break it, because you can break this plastic flange and you'll run into a whole lot more issues than just a coolant tank, swap. So I'm gonna loosen up this hose, and then I'll show you the step from there. All right, so once you get this, let me focus. Once you get this hose loosened, you could get something like this, which is just a little Allen wrench, because you're not gonna pull this hose all the way off, or else you'll just start spilling coolant out. You wanna pull this hose to where this Allen key right here will go through. So let me do that process and I'll show you. Okay, you want to have it just like that. So once you pull it back far enough, this Allen key will be able to go through. You'll feel it going through. Okay, so once you got it like that, you want to raise this tank up while watching right here, because when you raise this tank up, it will push fluid through the system, and it will force all the air out this hole right here. This is the correct procedure on bleeding your coolant system for Audi A4. This is the right procedure. Do it through the bleed screw, that's not the full way you're supposed to do it, and you can end up with air in your system. So once you got that opened up on that pinhole, and you've got all your clips loosened and your bolt out, you want to lift this tank up while watching this hole. Okay, so once you lift the tank, you'll notice coolant start to come out of this hole. Once it's a pure stream and no like bubbles, or any like air gaps that you can tell coming through, you want to push that all the way up, push it back up to where it wouldn't be able to leak out of the hole anymore. And then you can put the tank back down, but you don't want to put the tank down till you push that hose back up. So I'm going to do that step, and I'm going to show you how it looks. I can't really do the process while trying to record, because it's just me and the phone. So I'm going to do that step I just told you, and then I'm going to show you how it went. Okay, so I just did the process, and you can see a little bit of coolant on the hose, and I had lifted it up and waited till it was a pure stream. I'm going to do it twice just to make sure that there is no air in the system, because I don't want any air in the system. I want it to be just pure coolant, no air, so I have no overheating issues. So I'm going to do it one more time, and then I'm going to put this all back together. Okay, so I did it one more time. There was still a couple bubbles in there the second time I did it, so I would recommend doing it 2 to 3 times just to make sure. I got it to where it was a pure stream again, and I just pushed it back. Now I'm going to put this hose clamp here back on so it clamps this hose back in place, and then I'm I'm gonna put these clips, these 2 clips here, back in place, and then I'm gonna get this screwed in, and then that'll be the job done. Okay, so once you get your hose clamp back in place, you get your clips in place, and you got it screwed in, and you make sure your clamps here are all in place and everything is good, and that's job done. That's how you change your coolant reservoir tank and bleed it the correct way. So after this, you're gonna wanna start your car up, take it out for a test drive. If there's no overheating or any issues like that, then you're good. You wanna take it out for a test drive for the day, and then you wanna, after you're done driving, you wanna park it, come out the next morning. When you come out the next morning while it's cold, you wanna check your level. If it's dropped because the engine has drunk some of the coolant, then you wanna top it back off to max. But if it's already at max, then you're good. Job done, you're good to go. Yep, that's how you change a coolant reservoir tank on a 2008 Audi A4, and the correct way to bleed the system. If you guys have any comments or you run into any issues, feel free to drop them in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video or it helped you in any way, then like and subscribe, because there will be more to come, because I've done tons of fixes to this car. If you haven't seen in my other videos, done O2 sensors, turbo, oil. I did a oil catch pan, or whatever it's called, the oil pan on the bottom. I replaced that. I didn't get a video over that, but I replaced that, and I can show you guys how to do it too if you need to know on it. There's a new brake booster in here. I've done a lot of work to this car. I'll show a video on how to tune up this car, and anything else you guys need assistance on, I can make videos on it. So if you want to keep this channel going, go ahead and like and subscribe, because that'll help me out in every way, and it'll let me know to make more videos on this. So if this helped, thank you for watching. Have a good one.